Police face an increasingly common challenge: how to tell if a driver is high. As states legalize marijuana use, opioid abuse runs rampant, the methamphetamine crisis continues, and new synthetic drugs hit the streets. Law enforcement authorities say it's more common than ever to encounter motorists who are under the influence. In response, police are pioneering a new generation of chemical tests designed to detect drugs quickly in drivers' bodies, eventually during a roadside stop. They're like breath tests for alcohol, but they use mouth swabs to screen for at least a half dozen other drugs. One West Suburban department plans in the coming months to start testing suspected drivers for marijuana, cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and opiates like heroin. Carroll Stream Police, who are known for their aggressive enforcement of drunken driving laws, say they're expanding their attention to drugs because they see the effects on drivers but aren't always sure which drug is involved. It's believed to be the first agency in the state to try the new driver drug tests. If it's going to be like a breath test, that's a game changer, Sergeant Brian Clover said. If we can make our roads safer, we want to do that. Police in California, Colorado, Kansas, and Michigan, as well as Australia and many European countries, are already using or testing such devices. But critics, like some marijuana proponents and civil rights advocates, question how well the tests work and whether they'll be used properly. DUI defense attorney Don Ramsell, for one, is skeptical. He says judges have yet to certify that the tests are accurate. They might just as well hand somebody a bag of nachos and see if he eats it, he said. That's just as valid. Ultimately, the debate over whether roadside drug tests can be used to help arrest drivers will probably end up in court. Alcohol has long been the leading mind-altering hazard on the road, involved in about 10,000 driving deaths each year. A lengthy public campaign to reduce drunk driving and increase the use of seat belts and airbags has cut the number of deaths by half since the early 1980s. A variety of devices were invented to test drivers for alcohol, including the drunkometer, intoximeter, and breathalyzer. Police began widespread use of portable breath testing devices in the 1980s. But in 2015, for the first time, the number of drivers involved in fatal crashes nationwide who tested positive for drugs surpassed the number of drivers who had alcohol in their systems, according to a report by the Governor's Highway Safety Association. Some states that legalized marijuana saw marked increases. After Colorado made cannabis legal for medical and recreational use, the number of drivers in fatal crashes who tested positive for marijuana more than doubled since 2013, according to published reports. Those numbers do not prove the drivers involved were impaired, because remnants of marijuana can remain in the body for days or weeks after use. Only some of the drivers involved in crashes were tested, and the amount of drugs present might not have been enough to play a role. But traffic cops say they increasingly see people on the road who appear to be on something, in many cases prescription drugs, which are also illegal if they impair driving.